manga review. So first, before I get into this manga series, I must do a bit of a disclaimer. If you have children in the room, please tell them to go, kick them out of your house, disown them, do whatever you have to do. This is a bit of a steamy manga, one with more adult-oriented jokes. Typically, I would probably recommend this manga series to people 18 and above. They'll probably get the most enjoyment out of it. Maybe, 16. It's not porn, but it very easily could be. It is a little bit not safe for work. Anyway, are your children gone? Okay, so manga we're reviewing today, Peach Mermaid. Not that kind of peach, you silly goose. Peach is the color of her hair and mermaid tail. Get your mind out of the gutter. So this is an interesting one. It kind of takes the idea of the Little Mermaid plot with a mermaid who falls in love with a human and, becomes human to be with him. But it kind of puts a whole twist on that plot. So basically, she got this potion from the sea witch, of course, and it gives her human legs, but, however, whenever she is aroused, her mermaid tail grows back, meaning that they can't show their love. And because of the condition put on this potion, she can't stay human unless she has sex with him. So it is kind of a goofy twist to put on the whole Little Mermaid story. This idea of a guy and a mermaid trying to have sex with each other but not being able to, because every time they try, her tail grows back and it's like, ah! It's specifically written that way to be like a little bit sexually frustrating. A lot of manga is written with some romance in mind to just like have in the background, and a lot of people who are in it for the romance can be very sexually frustrated when that romance goes nowhere. There's entire shows dedicated to romance and the romance still goes nowhere. So this is kind of doing somewhat of a mockery on that. This idea that these two people, yeah, we know they like each other, but nothing's gonna happen between them because of this handicap that they have. And in theory, this series could go on forever with that handicap in mind. Thank God it doesn't. It only lasts for 3 volumes. I think the second volume being the best out of the 3. And they do actually wrap up the story and give it an ending. And it's a happy ending, thank God. But I appreciate the fact that they didn't just like have this sexually frustrating romance that never ends, never has a conclusion, because that would be quite aggravating. I like romance stories with happy endings and conclusions, and when they lack that, I'm pretty disappointed. Now, I will tell you right away, it kind of has a weird beginning to the story. It kind of has like a weird backstory for how she fell in love with this guy. So we like start off her little backstory, and she's like a much smaller mermaid, and the idea is she like reads these pornographic books that wash up in the ocean for whatever reason. I don't know. It's just kind of weird because, she's presented as a child when she's looking at this stuff. I don't know how young she's actually supposed to be. It's an ongoing joke in this manga that like the way mermaids age and how their biology work is just like all complicated. But the basic idea is how mermaids get together and reproduce. There's no love in it. There's just, lay eggs and then a male comes over and does his thing. And in learning about how humans mate and how there's like all this love and passion put into it, she has like romanticized the idea of sex. But because of that, she's also become like a bit of a pervert without even really understanding that like the stuff she says is like super perverted and her desires are like somewhat perverted. So like I said, kind of a weird backstory, but it's not completely uncharming. It's kind of nice to think about how, mermaids and fish, they have very passionless love, and the idea that a mermaid might look at human love as being like this beautiful fairy tale like thing. That's kind of cute, that's kind of sweet, right? So a lot of the jokes, of course, as you can imagine, involve like them trying to do stuff together and her tail growing back. Most of the first volume, it kind of just starts off with the guy like pushing her away, being like, yeah, it's never gonna work between us, until finally coming to the conclusion that he does like her and he does want to try to make it work. Then what ends up happening afterwards is they're trying to find a way to make her permanently human. So they're trying to have sex a lot, and it usually ends the same way, being like this constant frustrating thing that they won't be able to be together. Even more so, if they're not able to have sex, she'll turn back into a mermaid. And as if that's not enough of a loss to make her turn back into a mermaid, she'll also not be a girl. If she turns back, she'll turn into a merman, specifically because some kind of weird biology thing. The idea is just that all mermaids are born female, and then some of the biggest ones will later grow up to be male to help reproduce. So it's like, even if he wants to make it work with her as a mermaid, he ain't gay, you know? So there's a lot more pressure to try to have sex with her so that she can stay a human and stay a girl also. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of sex jokes in this 3-volume series, but there are also some sweet, tender moments between the characters, some drama thrown in there, and like I said before, it has a happy ending. Thank God. It's also not a series that you have to read for an extremely long time just to like get a hint that the romance will happen. You know, there's all these romance manga out there where you just read on and on and on and nothing happens, but you know that something's supposed to happen. This one is a lot more sped up. It's a lot more concise in how they do the romance and how they advance the romance. But even more so, they like show sex in this new light. You know, it starts off as like all pervy jokes and she doesn't really understand how taboo sex is in modern conversation. It's kind of goofy. But it also goes to show that like sex can be this wonderful loving thing between two couples, and how they show their passion for each other can be very endearing. Now, remember how I said the beginning of this manga is kind of weird? Well, the climax of this manga is also kind of weird. Climax. Get it? But in all seriousness, the main reason why I'm not as big of a fan of the 3rd volume is just because of the weird way that they decided to do the ending. For those of you who want to go read it yourself, I'm about to spoil everything, so you can go read it yourself if you want to go read it, if you're interested enough. But I will have to rant about how they did the ending, because it's kind of bizarre and maybe a little bit fetishy. Anyway, just so you know, spoiler warning, spoiler warning, spoiler. So like a lot of manga, they do a fake out because apparently that's the only climax that they know how to do. So they have to fake you out and make you think that this is gonna have a sad ending, and they turn her into a merman. You know, it's like, oh, they're too late, they couldn't do it. She's already a merman, there's no going back from here. Oh no. He's just like, okay, what do you want to do? What's next? How do we fix this? And basically, she takes out this other potion that the witch gave her. It'll turn her back into a human, but the problem is, because she has already turned into a merman, it'll turn her into a boy. It won't change her gender, but it'll change her species. Now this is where things get a little bit dark. Dark is, yeah, that's the word to describe it. Dark. She's like, oh, if I take the potion, I'll be a boy, but I want to be with you. You know, I still have feelings for you. I don't understand this kiss either. He like drinks the potion and like puts the potion in her mouth in a kiss, or sorry, his mouth in a kiss. The idea is he's like, yes, I'll still be with you even if you turn into a boy when you turn human. I guess part of the idea is that because he loves her enough, he's willing to go gay for her. And that makes the love more valid? That's just not how that works. Oh, well, it doesn't matter if you're a man, it doesn't matter if you're a mermaid. Well, yeah, it did kind of matter that she was a mermaid. You can't have sex. But even more so, before, in this manga series, he was willing to, like, make her finish as a mermaid. You know, he was still willing to, like, show his love for her as she was a mermaid, but she wants to be a human, she wants to be a girl, and they're like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, it's just all outer appearance. No, you can't just force yourself to be gay for someone so that they'll feel better. And it is kind of dark, the idea that he's like, I'll force myself to be gay for you. And what exactly is the lesson that the author is trying to get across here? You don't love her enough to suck her dick, then you don't really love her. I mean, if he was bi, this scene would be funny. I would have actually preferred that. I would have preferred it if you made the main character bi, because then it would be like, oh, you can't be with me because I'll turn into a man and you're not attracted to men. And he would just be like, bitch, I'm bi, I don't give a fuck. And then they can have the cute kiss scene. That would be funny. That would be funny, but it's not funny to force yourself to change your sexuality for someone. That's not funny. That's just dark. And I was also kind of ticked off at the scene because I thought that, like, this manga was tricking me into actually reading yaoi this whole time. I didn't sign up for that. I wasn't mentally prepared for yaoi. But you know, happy ending, thank God. She does not turn into a boy. She turns back into a girl, a human girl, and they go home and they have lots of sex. Thank God! So it's like, I'm not against the ending of them having lots of sex and of her and him getting their happy ending. They deserve it after all the shit that they've been through in this fucking series. I just don't understand the climax. Why'd you have to do a fake out, first of all? It doesn't seem like there's a need for a fake out. It doesn't teach the main character any lesson. He didn't need to be taught any lesson. It doesn't teach us as an audience any lesson. We shouldn't have sex with other species, first of all, and we probably shouldn't force ourselves to change our sexuality. If anything, it should teach us the opposite. But instead it's like, yeah, we reward him now. We reward him for wanting to change his sexuality because that means apparently that he loves her more. Look, trying to force yourself to be attracted to something that you're not, all that really does is create this resentment in the relationship, and you'll take it out on your significant other because you'll just be like unhappy and suffering and you won't know why, so you'll just blame them because of this decision that you made to force yourself to be attracted to them. It just doesn't work that way. Like I said before, sexuality doesn't work that way. And you can't just force someone to be gay or force them to be straight. Like I said before, it might be a little bit fetishy why they had the climax be the fake out and why they had to have merman and boy kiss. As you know, this is shoujo manga, and a lot of gals love to fap to yaoi. So I have no doubts in my mind that maybe that was part of the reason they threw that in there. Just to get the yaoi fangirls like, ah. Like I said before, I didn't sign up for that when I went into this manga series. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't want that. It's like, I don't mind fetishy stuff if it kind of makes sense and flows with the rest of the story. But when it messes with the story, when it makes it worse, that's when I'm like, okay, get that shit out of my face. But yeah, other than that, it's not bad. They have some really good moments in this manga. They really do. I'm not making the best case for this series, am I? Like I said, the second book, definitely the best book. The beginning was a little bit weird, and the climax of the ending, specifically that one scene. Every other scene was like fine. But specifically that one scene, they just decided to go in a dark route, and then they didn't even acknowledge that that was dark or that was messed up. Like I said, it's like the lesson is if you really love her, you'll suck her dick. Anyway, that is my little review and rant of Peach Mermaid. If you yourself have read this manga, let me know what you think of it down below in the comments. Or if you didn't read this manga and just stuck around to hear my rant, what do you think about that climax? Any and all thoughts, let me know. Remember to like the video, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye!